We are in the final stages, final inches. The competition authority, we have received basically 30 authorizations from different institutions. The final one is going to be the competition authority of Spain. We are in the final stages of that process. In the next few weeks, our expectation is that they will come up with the final resolution. We have presented really an unprecedented list of remedies, as we call them, basically giving volume guarantees and price guarantees, guaranteeing the prices of loans in certain geographies for certain segments, an unprecedented list of remedies. And based on those remedies, our expectation is that they will give us the green light in the next few weeks. Once that is done, then the government can choose to review the case. And then we start what we call the acceptation process, where the Sabadell shareholders, the rightful owners of the decision in our view, they will decide whether they would like to tender their shares or not. So that's the process. Competition authority, government review, and the acceptation period.
The Spanish government, however, hasn't sounded very positive about this deal. Do you think that the remedies that you presented to the competition authorities will be enough to convince the Spanish government as well?
Precisely. I mean, we understand and we respect all the concerns raised by the government. They were around SME segment, they were around competition, they were around financial inclusion, social cohesion, and so on. And once again, the remedy list that we have is so powerful, so unprecedented, that we do hope that we will be able to address all the concerns that they have. I mean, for example, I gave you the competition. We are giving volume and price guarantees, which is unforeseen in these type of transactions. We are giving on financial inclusion, a very powerful, we are not going to be closing any branches in rural areas, in poor areas, but more importantly, we will only close branches if there is another one within 300 meters. Those type of remedies were unforeseen, and we are going to stick to those remedies, and we do hope that these remedies address in full all the concerns that the government has.
What about job cuts?
In the job cuts, I mean, we have been saying it from the first day as well. In Spain, we have done a restructuring program 3 years ago. In all these programs, it's always agreed with the unions. Unions are very important for us in Spain, always agreed, and 99% of the job cuts that we have seen in the previous restructuring were voluntary. So basically, the people who were affected, they chose to leave the job. So we do think that that is going to be a major criteria that we would continue to apply. But more importantly, in this transaction, it's a growth transaction. It's not a cost transaction. We are doing this to grow in SMEs. In that sense, we have identified the synergies that we would be getting from this transaction, and most of it is basically related to technology. Rather than having two systems, we will have one system, and technology is now becoming a larger part of the banking system. It's not going to be coming from job cuts. The majority will be coming from these technology savings.
So is it feasible to assume that you're going to have this deal completed within this year?
Precisely. I mean, our expectation, our base case scenario is that, again, in the next few weeks, the competition authority will decide, will give the final resolution. Then there is a period that the government can choose to use. So we expect in the second quarter to start the acceptation period, and the acceptation period will be completed in the second, third quarter. So we will be able to get the deal done in that process. After the deal is complete in terms of acceptation period, after the Sabadell shareholders decide on the transaction, the government also can, there's another process where the government can choose to not allow or allow the merger process, the merger of the two entities. We would be controlling, we would be managing Sabadell as a separate entity at that point, but there will be that process as well. But the acceptation period is the key stage here when the Sabadell shareholders decide, and it's going to be in the second, third quarter, that whole process.
And of course, if you put everything into context in terms of what's happening in the European banking sector, you actually started this wave of consolidation. So I was just wondering, what have you learned from the process so far? Do you think that we'll actually see more meaningful announcements going forward beyond those that we have already heard, for instance, from the likes of UniCredit?
Sylvia, it has to happen. It has to happen. I mean, and there's this famous chart floating around in all the tables of media and also the banks. Top 20 the top 20 banks in the world, market cap, no? Who are the top 20? All the American banks are there, Chinese banks, Japanese banks, Canadian banks, Australian banks. There is an Indian bank. There is no one single EU bank in that list of top 20. is this important? So what if there's no European bank in that list? Europe needs investments, once again. Investments for self-sufficiency in defense, in energy. Europe needs investments to grow. And investments can come from two ways, capital markets and larger banks. For both of this, you need transactions. Larger banks, more efficiency, which means higher investment capacity.